Hello, you little smashers. How are you? Today I'm talking about allowance, the allowance of others. I'll tell you all about it on the other side. Not so long ago, I did an interview with Pastor Kevin. Perhaps you've seen it, perhaps you haven't. And Kevin is a pastor, and he has studied in depth the Bible. And he has some very strong beliefs about the Bible, and he believes the entirety of his Bible, which he kept specifying a number of books. And it was a fascinating conversation, truly fascinating. But I was also interested in how the audience would respond to it, because it was a very kind of narrow band of what we often talk about. And it was interesting that Vicky Cook, hello Vicky Cook put in the comments, I struggled to listen to this because of my beliefs on religion, etc., etc. And so at some points I was feeling triggered. I think she said that, or somebody else said that. But it's work that I have to do. Okay, and this is it was a very wise statement that she made. And what I've discovered is that one of the things that we are bred not to do is to allow space for other people who have differing opinions. In fact, as we know, the whole of society is built around you're in my gang, you're the greatest, you're outside of my gang, you're a twat. Okay, and that's what we've been taught. That's what we've been shown. It's my way or the highway. You're with us or you're against us. It's this binary world that we've been brought up in. And so it's quite difficult for us, I think, to break that programming. But I think it's ever so important. And I think the secret of it is this. When we're talking to people, what we've got to do is we've got to focus on what resonates with us. You see, because of the way that we're set up with our beliefs, and I'm going to talk about beliefs, a message that I got from the Jesus Energy going forward, very beautiful message. But when we're talking about, when we've got our beliefs inside, they protect us. They really do protect us. And so we never need to be scared when we're listening to somebody who's telling us something that goes against our beliefs. Why? Because our beliefs, if they are built on a good foundation, if they are founded well, and we'll talk about that later on, then we're not in any danger. That's why when we watch films now, we watch stuff, but I don't watch the TV, but I just wouldn't watch the TV. And many people don't watch the TV because that's a very different level of propaganda and programming. But in films now, we watch films watching out for the propaganda, for the messages, for the underlying, the programming that comes through. And films are chocker, absolutely chocker with it. But we're protected. I'm never scared when I'm watching a film that could be challenging my beliefs. Why? Because my beliefs are really strong. Even though I'm fully aware that my beliefs are founded on nothing except my beliefs. They're not founded on the truth. They're only founded on what I've decided that I am going to believe. However, when we're talking to somebody, like with Kevin, when he was talking to me, right, and he was referring to the Bible, and he was saying these things like, the Bible is uncontrovertible and blah, 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 blah. My beliefs inside were saying, that doesn't resonate with me, because we could go down a path of, I could say, look, this isn't from God, this bit in the Bible, or this isn't from God, in my opinion. But in Kevin's opinion, yes, it is. Absolutely. But I didn't. And I didn't want to do that, because I think where we have to be, we have to get into a space where we allow. And the reason is because our beliefs are not based on anything except our beliefs. They're not based on the truth. And so if we don't allow anybody to tell us something that goes against our beliefs, we will never, ever learn. We'll never be able to shift. Go back 20 years. What you believed 20 years ago, do you believe today? My guess is no. I certainly don't. What I believed 20 years ago, what I believe today flies in the face of what I believed 20 years ago. And if I go back 40 years, oh my God, My beliefs have completely and utterly changed, like from north to south. And so never think that your beliefs are so solid that they shouldn't be budged. They should. You should always be testing the frontier of your beliefs, always testing the foundation of your beliefs, and always listening. It doesn't mean that you have to believe, but you must listen. You must allow people the space. One of the problems that we've got in the world is that there is no allowance. And this is the word that's really important, is giving allowance to people. What does it matter? You know, when I think about the conversation I had with Pastor Kevin, we agreed on a lot of things. And we certainly agreed on where the world was now and what's wrong with it, and that something needs to come and change it. So, you know, it's that chunking up, isn't it, of, all right, so let's get out of the details. Let's get out of the murky, boggy details, and let's chunk up. Do we all more or less believe the same thing? Yes, we do. The details are personal. They're our details. And those details will change as time moves on. They have to. That's just the way that we evolve. The people who have the same beliefs at 19 and then continue to have the same beliefs at 60, 70, 80, they're sad people. They have never evolved. They've never moved on. They've never changed. And so that's where we've got to be. I think we've got to be in this place of allowance and also curiosity. Curiosity, it may have killed the cat, okay? But remember the other story of the cat that walked into a room on a winter's day looking for a source of heat, and it sat down on the stove and burned its bottom, and it never sat down again in its life. That's what we don't want to be. We don't want to be these people saying, I will never listen to that again because that's wrong. That's where we're going to trap ourselves in a dichotomy where we just don't have any choice. The more choice we have, the more flexible we become. In fact, when they did the study on who are the best managers in this world, they found that the people with the most flexibility were the best managers. Why is that? Just because you've got room to maneuver. There is nothing worse than a rigid person. When you're with a rigid person, there is no movement. There's nowhere to go with them. I find those conversations really boring. However, that doesn't mean that you have to dismiss, because people are rigid because they've got some things that they believe in, and maybe some of them are really, really good things, and that's why they don't want to shift from them. So listen. We need to listen as much as we can. Listen without judgment. Very difficult. Very difficult. But, you know, I'm in this, like, it's almost like a schizophrenia that I have when I'm talking to my clients and they're telling me their perception of the world. And my client mind is saying, yeah, okay, yeah, mm-hmm. And my back mind, that little voice is going, that's absolutely mad, that's mad. But that's a quieter voice. And I dismiss it most of the time. Not all the time, because sometimes it's mad. But I dismiss it because I want to hear what the person's saying. One of the problems we've got is when that voice is so loud, it's screaming. You can't even hear what the person's saying. Have you ever talked to somebody and they've done this? As you were talking to them, they're going, well, they're not listening to what you're saying. They can't hear what you're saying. Cynthia said to me the other day, people talk to you a lot, and all of my life people have talked to me and told me the problems. Quite why? I don't know. That's what I said to her. It always seemed to be the kind of the sounding board for people that tell me all of the problems, and I don't ask them; they just tell me. And she said it's because you nod your head, right? She said I've noticed this when you're talking to people, you're listening to them, you're nodding your head. Maybe, you know, there's a bit more to it than that, but that's a very powerful tool of showing somebody that you're listening to them. You know, cock your head to one side as well. That's a sign that you're listening, and nod, right? What happens? It's an affirmation for you as well. When you're doing that, you're listening, okay? When you're doing this, you're not listening. And they're not listening as well. So if somebody's shaking their head, I would stop talking. There's no point, you know, pearls before swine. And another little tip just before we go, if you want somebody to talk and they're not, or you know, don't be a silence filler. I was a silence filler for a long time. There's a silence, I would fill it with something. You're not doing yourself any favors. If you want to learn from people, you have to stay silent. And one of the tips is just to raise your eyebrows. You lift up your eyebrows, and there's something about it. It's an anchor that we have. When somebody raises the eyebrows, then it's a sign that you have to speak. Yeah? How are you? And you just lift them up. You don't say anything, and off they go and they talk. And don't be frightened of silences either. Don't be frightened of pauses. You wait. Right? You know what your words are. What you don't know is what their words are. Let them speak. Let them speak for two reasons. One is you're going to find out some really interesting information, because when people don't want to talk and yet they feel obliged to talk, they often tell you the real deal. And also, you might hear something that you've never heard before, and that's interesting too. So there you are, allowance. Let's allow. Let people chat. Let them say their opinion. And you, if they ask you, you can give them your opinion. But if they don't ask you, well, it doesn't matter. You've just learned something. Maybe you've learned what's not right, but maybe you've learned what's right too. Who knows? I love you all, and I'll see you all later. Bye-bye.